Now, politically, we've talked a lot about the fact that when the Supreme Court decided to take these cases, that they were likely to be taking the cases to start to take away, undercut Roe v. Wade. I thought, Buck, that they would uphold the Mississippi law banning abortion after 15 weeks and that they would continue to kind of chip away at it. That's what John Roberts, I believe, would have done. Based on the Alito opinion, which leaked, it appears they're going to do away with Roe v. Wade. So let's take away the morality angle and everything else and just talk about the political angle. What does this do politically? Because we're headed towards a red wave in 2022. And my belief is that there are a lot of middle-of-the-road suburban women who are furious over COVID and all the Democrat shutdowns and lockdowns, and we've got an unbelievable clip from Randy Weingarten to reflect this. Does this make their decisions more difficult? And in some of those states, like Georgia, where you've got Warnock, who's an incumbent, going up against probably Herschel Walker, the primary's coming up soon. In Arizona, where you've got Mark Kelly, who's probably on the ropes. In Wisconsin, where our friend Ron Johnson is running for re-election. In New Hampshire, where Maggie Hassan is really on the ropes. I mean, we can run through all these different political markets. Does this have a substantial impact or enough of an impact to swing those elections? Because really the Democrats don't have anything else to run on. So are they going to hammer this decision over and over and over again in an effort to try to mobilize suburban women? That's my question.
I don't think it's going to have a big effect, positive effect for the Democrats going into the midterms. I think there are too many imminent issues because remember, what's the pitch really as well? It's going to be put us in charge so we can pass a federal law to make abortion legal. I mean, okay, but anybody who understands how the system works, one, there'll be challenges to a federal abortion law, which will rely on the interstate commerce clause, I suppose, and whether that's too much of it. Remember the Violence Against Women Act, right? There are things that sometimes are too far, even for the stretching of the commerce clause that Democrats engage in. But beyond that, it would just mean that Republicans the next time around could change the law or could rescind whatever they think whatever the new legislation would be. And so with that, I don't think it really mobilizes that many people who would not be interested in voting against Republicans or voting for Democrats anyway. I don't see it having that much of an impact. And I think when you look at how it will galvanize many people on the right who have been working, they've been working toward this moment for a long time, right? For decades. And now it's not that. I mean, if you talk to anybody in the pro-life movement, their vision of this isn't, oh, this is victory. It's, oh, well, now we're really in the fight, right? Now we're really in the fight in a way that we're not having our hands tied behind our backs by this 1973 decision. So I think, basically what I'm saying, Clay, I think it'll kind of cancel out in terms of the pure politics of this. Therefore, it doesn't really move the overall needle for Democrats in a meaningful way. That's my sense of how this goes, especially because if you live in California, if you live in New York, if you live in New Jersey, you go to Massachusetts, the law is not going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever the law currently is on abortion will be reflected.
Actually, we could have more open, right?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the law isn't going to change. What I mean is the abortion regime will not change because obviously the law will change from a federal perspective.
I'm intrigued to see what happens. Purely from a political perspective, this decision coming out in 2023, I think probably would have benefited Republicans because we've been arguing about what is the argument that Democrats make. What argument do they make, right? And Biden is such a disaster that I really don't think he has any argument based on what he's done. And so now the argument is going to, and we'll play Elizabeth Warren here for you in a moment. Now the argument, Buck, is going to be, look at what they're going to take from you. That's the new argument, I think, for the Democrats in the midterm.
But you have to, let's think about who is the voter for whom this is such an important issue that it also outstrips the price of gas, high inflation, wide open border, crime in major cities.
That's why I said
dysfunction.
suburban women.
Right. So now, but it's really probably suburban single women. More
certainly
than suburban moms. There are a lot
of
single
women in general, because I do think there's a lot. But yes,
we have it's fun when we get research about this. We have a lot of suburban moms listen to this show. Not as many suburban single women, from what I understand, but there's certainly plenty. That was what I was talking about, demographic information.
No, as a married guy for 20 years, like if we had incredible appeal for single women, I would be blown away. But I'd like to the demos. You're right. We have a huge suburban mom audience that is listening. And when the reason why I'm talking about this is when the suburban mom community goes out to dinner, right? Or goes out for wine, which happens frequently, so I'm told. And they're all sitting around. I'll give you an example, Buck. I was out in Vegas for the March Madness, right? I went out to dinner with a bunch of women who absolutely love Trump. Absolutely love him. Now, these are actually single women. My wife was there too, by the way. And all of them were all in on Trump, and they just were not infatuated with the idea of the Supreme Court coming out with an abortion ruling. They're still going to vote for would vote for Trump. They're still going to vote Republican. But I do think that the Republican Party doesn't talk necessarily to. There are women who are maybe not all in on pro-choice, but they are certainly more open to the idea of abortion and being legal in some circumstances. And I don't think you want to alienate those people by allowing Democrats to say, oh, we're going to then take the next step and try to take away your right to which they're going to do. They're going to argue. We're going to take away your birth control right. We're going to take away everything associated with reproduction.
But the only political test run that I can think of for this in the recent past would be, as you recall, the effort to block Kavanaugh, which really this is a continuation. This fight is a continuation of that process. In the effort to block Kavanaugh, they thought, we will go all out and be as shrill and vicious. I said at the time, it turned a lot of people, I think I claim this for myself, into a more wartime conservative mentality in the sense that these people will do anything. I mean, they will say, these left-wing activists and Democrat power brokers will do absolutely anything to maintain power. They have no principles or scruples whatsoever. That was what the Kavanaugh hearing showed me. But I bring it up, Clay, just because I think the Democrats really believed that this was going to save the Senate for them. And now there was a lot of mobilization. I think it backfired and actually cost them Senate control. And you may see, depending on how this, shakes out in the next couple of months, you could see a similar phenomenon where they just go too far and seem too crazy.
Well, it's a great example for me in Tennessee. That's when Marsha Blackburn got elected. And she was in what was, at least at the time, considered to be a real battle with Phil Bredesen, who was a really popular elected Democrat governor, former mayor of Nashville, who had done a good job. And a lot of people, I came out publicly and said I'm backing Marsha Blackburn in 2018. Still kind of supposed to be a tight race, because I said I can't support in any way any Democrat in the Senate after watching the Kavanaugh hearings. And I think there are a lot of people like me who helped, certainly had that response.
There are two sides to that whole war on women concept that the Democrats roll out. It's not a one-way battle. And people sometimes criticize me a little bit on the why aren't I more critical of Lindsey Graham? And I will just admit this, because there are things that I disagree with the senator on pretty strongly. I will never forget and always give credit for. He was
amazing there.
He stood up when we needed somebody to stand up and get it done in the Senate. Senator Graham, I give him a lot of credit for that. He stood up and got it done.
He was, and that was, I think, his finest hour. I mean, that speech that he gave,
the best moment of his career, I would argue.
Best moment of his career. I don't think there's any doubt.